Network analysis. Actually, basically network analysis is related to project management. First of all, we try to understand, all of us know project, generally informally all of us know, but how do we define a project? A project is an activity or group of activities which are aimed at achieving some kind of objective or some purpose. At the same time, it has a starting point and it has an ending point. That means there are three basic elements that are there in a project. First thing is a starting point, second thing is an ending point, and third thing is it is associated with achieving some purpose. That is a project. Then if you have to take up a project, then it is also involved with project management. That means it is not simply we say project means it is just over. Then there are some steps associated with project management. In project management, we have majorly an item known as project planning. What this project planning indicates? As we know, planning is a tool which is used or engaged every day activities or in organizational context. Everywhere we will find planning in smaller things or bigger things. So planning is an essential ingredient which should go hand in hand with any kind of thing. So while making the plan or while engaged in project planning, we need to see first of all what are the objectives, what is the purpose we are taking up this project. That is very, very important. What we want to achieve by executing this project. Then we should see what is the kind of team required to execute that project, because not every project can be done by a single individual, or most of the projects are to be executed by teams only. For that reason, we need to identify, as part of the planning only, we need to identify the team which is to be engaged for executing that project planning. Then what is the kind of time that is required to complete the project, and what is the kind of cost that is associated with the project, that should be also known, or that should be estimated, because time is also one of the most important resources when we take up projects. Because if we don't expect the time required for a project, then things may go haywire. So for that reason, we need to think in terms of time and cost involved with the project execution. So we need to make a realistic estimate. So that is very, very important. Similarly, we also need other kinds of resources that are required for executing a project. Once a project planning is over, then we need to do the scheduling of the project. Scheduling of the project indicates is when we have taken up a project, naturally it is broken down into smaller activities. Those smaller activities, not all of them can be taken at once. So certain activities have to be taken after completing certain activities have to be taken up before starting some other activities. Likewise, we have to do the scheduling. Scheduling means what kind of activity has to be taken when, how we have to take it up, what are the kinds of resources that are required, whether they are available, when they are available, how to schedule our activities. Because not all the resources might be available every time we want. For that reason, we need to see what are the kinds of resources required, when they are required, what quantity they are required. So all these things have to be taken. Those resources may include manpower, how many persons or employees we require to successfully execute those kind of projects. Then what are the kinds of materials we require, and say for example constructing a house, we need cement, bricks, steel, sand, those kind of things, material, and similarly implements that are required to construct a house. Similarly money, how much money we require to provide for all the kinds of resources. That also we have to identify, or when we are going to spend that kind. In scheduling we try to see. Similarly, what are the machines those are required in executing that project? Maybe we will be using some machinery in, let us say, a shipbuilding is there. Shipbuilding is also like a project, taking up a project. So there are some kind of machines required to build that ship. That means some kind of machining activities that will be taken place. So that is the reason we require what are the kinds of machines that are required. After project planning and project scheduling, the third and most important phase is project control. Project control, what it indicates is when we look at various kinds of projects, they are not usually completed on time. Maybe there are multiple reasons or causes that might have delayed the project, but the project delay results in the cost escalation. Because there will be increase in the cost of materials, in the cost of labor, and apart from this there will be a loss of production. So for that reason, project control is the most important phase among all these three things. Of course, both those earlier phases, project planning and scheduling, are also equally important, but the focus should be more on project control once those phases are over. So in project control, as per plan, whether things are moving or not, that kind of monitoring has to keep on going on. Careful observation and monitoring whether as per schedule they are completed or not. So that has to be updated to the higher authorities, or to know the status we should be updating it, and we should compare with what we have planned and what has actually is being done. So sometimes if it is needed, it may have to be revised. So depending upon the kind of situation, if a project is lagging behind, probably we may have to engage extra resources to expedite the project or to speed up the project. Or sometimes in certain activities where it is ahead of the schedule, that means we have completed and moving ahead than actually it was planned. So in that event, then the project manager may have to stop those kind of works, and those resources have to be engaged where there is a lag or where the activities are falling behind the schedule or going back, those kind of things. And similarly, if revision is made in the project schedule, then probably we have to reschedule those kind of resources. How we are going to use our resources as per the revised plan, that kind of thing is known as rescheduling of resources. Then project completion. Once we have done this, and then we go along with the project progress, and finally we will complete the project. Once a project is completed, then we may have to look at what was the actual. We should take a feedback, and we should try to find out whether we could complete the project on time or we didn't complete. Of course, all this requires some kind of project documentation also. This documentation will enable us to know where there were lapses or where we could not do, why those reasons could be probed, and probably that would help as a guiding tool in future execution of the project. So for that reason, we need to do the documentation also in any kind of project.